Yeah, this is your boy Laddie Boy, and this time I'm coming with a different little tutorial, more or less, about wing controllers and bread controllers. But before I get into it, I'm gonna play you a little bit of a short track I did with some of I myself doing some wing controller stuff and some stuff doing with the bread controller. The purpose of this whole thing is that the debate on which one is right for you in terms of instrument to basically help you in terms of playing back, let's say, songs that wind driven song like saxophone songs, the trumpet songs, or maybe any other song, strings, and each one has their strengths and weaknesses as a tool to work with. So I'll begin by saying that if you're let's say a sax player, a trumpet player, a flutist, or other wind instrument player, you may feel the urge to gravitate towards maybe a wind controller. One of the things about the wind controller is that the learning curve for you as let's say a saxophone player, a trumpet, a trombone player, a flutist is very easy because you're already coming from a concept where you're fingering valves to get different songs and the muscle memory in your fingers and what's not. So yes, you can also be a saxophone or trombone player and you gravitate towards a breath controller. The only thing about a breath controller is that if you are not basically, if you're only, let's say, a saxophone or trumpet player, then it would be probably more difficult that you have to learn to play another instrument that would be able, so you could use a breath controller. Vice versa, it's the same thing with um let's say a keyboard player, guitar player may gravitate towards the breath controller to get to mimic, let's say, a good saxophone patch, because today out there's a lot of sample libraries. There's a lot of right now there's audio modeling that actually recreates the exact song to as very, very, very close as possible. But it all depends on where you're coming from. For me, I'm more a keyboard player, and I've been learning to play the wind control. I'm not a sax player or trumpet player, anything. It took about 2 years getting into the EV, playing it, learning it, and it's a whole different ball game in terms of how the notes are laid out and what's not. Actually, I'm learning in the EV settings, so it's different to the sax, but it's very close. But what I'm trying to say is that as to coming from a keyboard background, I had to learn a lot. I had to practice a lot, and I'm still not even nowhere close where I want to be on the wind controller. But now with the breath controller, I can easily play what I want to play using the keyboard and have my breath recreate a more realistic song in when I'm playing. So let's say I want to play saxophone with a breath controller. I could really, I'll do a better job coming from a keyboard player that I am, other than being, let's say, a sax player, because I'm not really, I'm just getting into it. But other than that, it's very good. One of the great things you have now is that the new bread controllers out there in the market, which I've just got myself one. They have all these different gestures you could use, that you could tag these different gestures to MIDI to MIDI CC messages and have it do things that only few of the more modern wind controllers can do. Most of the wind controllers basically are set out towards trying to mimic the traditional wind instrument, let's say of a saxophone. So things like nodding your head and that, but you can get all those things through the software. It's just that with a breath controller now, you can use all these gestures to get other stuff that is a little different, but it's doable even on the wind controller. Um, One of the good things is that in terms of songs, and again, one of the things about the breath controller and the wind controller, especially for, let's say, you're a saxophone player or trumpet player, trombone player, flutist, getting a wind controller doesn't, it would never replicate what your real instrument is, but at the same time, it gives you a palette of songs that if you're just a sax player and you, let's say you have a tenor sax, you might probably get a, which one, the alto or baritone. But let's say you want to do some flute stuff. So let's say you want to do some synthesizer stuff, some bass, some organs, or even distorted guitar. These are the things that you could take your same fingering from sax and expand it onto the wind controller and be able to um to play these songs and always go back to your traditional instrument which you play, but it gives you a broader spectrum on being able to do different things and still use your same fingering and blowing to do it. It's the same situation you find with um, coming from, let's say, a keyboard player with the breath controller. The breath controller can give you much more feelings to a particular patch than actually after touching pressure sensitive keyboards and your mod wheel, because by using your breath, especially for songs like, let's say, string songs, it doesn't have to be wind related instruments, it could be real lush string songs. You could swell it the right way with just the way you blow. So it creates all these different things that each method has a way of learning and gaining more knowledge about musical stuff. Um, and that's a good thing. One of the things that I am trying to get around since I've just got into the breath control is that blowing into the wind controller is different from using the breath controller. In terms of with the wind controller, I'm actually blowing the air into it and have to move my fingers accordingly to play the right notes. Like with a sax player, trumpet player, at the same time with the breath controller, I'm actually playing the keyboard as I would actually play the keyboard, but use my breath to basically blow the note instead of fingering the note so much. But the breathing for the breath controller to me is somewhat a little different from the breathing from different to the wind controller. But all in all, it's a good option to go either way. I think I've seen a lot of good benefits from it, and from a performing musician that I am, I'm exploiting both avenues. There's time I think I'll use the wind controller when I'm out performing, and there's time I'll always have my breath controller. Because first of all, being a keyboard player, I could play things with it and use the bread controller and get more than I can right now on the wind controller because I'm not so much. I'm still learning, and it's a journey, But what I'm saying is that both options are really good, and today, especially with the few companies that came out, Papritech Air Motion Pro, and there's another one out there in Italy, I think, another bread controller. These guys are really well organized and doing this stuff now. It's not like the Yamaha one you had probably years back. So I feel that it's a really good idea. Um, and yeah, man, if you want to dive in, dive in. Whichever one you feel is better for you. But if you have an opportunity to try both, I think that's the way to go. So if you have any questions, man, hit me up. Peace out. This is your boy, Lally Boy.